The wind cuts first, not the cold. Cold comes later. The wind arrives sharp and searching, slipping through wool and leather, crawling along the ribs, whispering across frozen fjords like a living thing. Snow presses against the longhouse walls. Smoke curls lazily from the roof vents, thin and steady, promising warmth inside. Within these timber walls, life appears calm, controlled, ordered. A pot hangs above the fire. Someone is stirring it. Something is always simmering in winter. This is the world of the Viking winter. Not the roaring longships, not the clash of steel, not the golden halls of endless feasts. This is the season when the sea closes. The earth locks itself shut, and survival narrows to what has already been gathered, dried, buried, smoked, salted, or forgotten in the dark. In winter, the Vikings do not conquer. They endure. And what they eat during these months, what truly keeps them alive, reveals far more about their world than their battles ever could. At first glance, everything seems stable. The farms are quiet but intact. The animals are sheltered. The larders are stocked. The rules of winter are known, passed down through generations like sacred law. Slaughter happens at the right time. Meat is preserved carefully. Grain is measured, not wasted. Everyone knows their place. This is not chaos. This is a system. In late autumn, before the first deep frost, the Viking world prepares with ruthless efficiency. Cattle that cannot be fed through winter are killed. Sheep are slaughtered. Pigs, valuable but expensive to maintain, are turned into salted pork, blood sausage, and fat-rich cuts meant to last. Nothing is wasted. Bones are cracked for marrow. Blood is caught in bowls. Organs are cooked immediately or preserved in whey. Winter food is not about variety, it is about certainty. The longhouse smells of smoke, sour milk, and dried meat. Wooden racks hang heavy with strips of lamb and fish, darkened by weeks of smoke from birch and juniper. Barrels sit half buried in the earth, filled with fermented shark, sour butter, pickled vegetables, and salted fish. Grain, barley mostly, is ground slowly by hand, turned into thick porridges and dense flatbreads that fill the stomach even when they do not satisfy the tongue. Fresh food becomes a memory. Milk no longer flows freely, but it does not disappear. Instead, it transforms into skyr, into cheese, into butter packed tight in skins and stored in cold earth. These dairy foods are winter gold, dense, nourishing, stable. Fat becomes more important than flavor. Calories are life. Meat is rationed, carefully, quietly. A little dried beef shaved thin, a chunk of smoked lamb dropped into stew. Fish, so much fish, cod and herring dried until hard as wood, then soaked and boiled until soft again. Fish that tastes of the sea even months later, reminding everyone that the water will one day open again. This is how the Vikings survive winter. Not with excess, but with restraint. Every meal carries memory. Every bite is counted. Children learn early that hunger is not an emergency, it is a companion. You eat until you are no longer weak, not until you are full. The fire burns low. Light is precious. Stories fill the dark hours, not entertainment, but insulation against fear. The gods are spoken of more often now. So are the dead. Winter is when belief matters most. The Viking world is built on cycles, sailing and stillness, war and farming, feast and famine. Winter is the proving ground of those cycles. It tests whether the summer was enough, whether the harvest was honest, whether the household was wise, and most winters the system holds. But beneath the surface of this calm order, pressure builds. Because winter food is not just sustenance, it is a gamble placed months earlier. A bad harvest does not announce itself immediately. A poorly salted barrel does not spoil overnight. A missing seal hunt, a failed fishing season, a summer storm that rotted hay. These mistakes wait patiently for winter to reveal them. And winter always reveals the truth. The culture around winter eating is strict for a reason. There are unspoken rules. You do not complain about food. You do not eat more than your share. You do not waste fat. You do not take the last piece unless offered. Hospitality remains sacred, but it becomes dangerous. Feeding a guest in summer is honor. Feeding one in winter is sacrifice. This tension hums quietly beneath every meal. The wealthy fare better, of course. A chieftain's household may still enjoy meat more regularly, richer stews, thick with fat and onions, more grain for bread, more hands to hunt trapped animals or break ice for fishing. Power in Viking society is measured not just by swords, but by stored food. Control the winter larder, and you control loyalty. But even wealth has limits. No one escapes winter entirely. The cold equalizes. It turns strength into endurance. It reduces kings and farmers to the same basic question: will there be enough? The Vikings understood something deeply human, that civilization is only as strong as its ability to store the past for the future. Their food system is a marvel of adaptation. Fermentation extends life. Smoking preserves protein. Drying conquers time itself. These techniques allow humans to cheat seasons, to bend nature just enough to survive it. And yet this mastery creates its own illusion, because the food that saves them also narrows them. Winter diets are repetitive, heavy, lacking in fresh plants. Vitamin deficiencies creep in silently. Joints ache, teeth weaken. Illness spreads faster when everyone is indoors, sharing air thick with smoke and breath. Scurvy is rare but not unknown. Hunger dulls the edge of thought. Tempers shorten. The same walls that protect also trap. And then there are the animals. Livestock are life, but also liability. Feeding them through winter consumes precious grain and hay. Every cow alive in January is a bet that spring will come before supplies run out. Sometimes the bet fails. Sometimes animals are slaughtered midwinter, not by plan but by necessity. The meat is tough. The fat is thin. The loss echoes into the future. No milk in spring. No calves, no wool. Winter eating decisions ripple forward, and beyond the farms, the sea waits. Fishing through ice is dangerous. Storms are unforgiving. A single lost boat can erase a household's protein for months. Dried fish stores help, but only if they exist. Coastal communities survive better than inland ones, but even they are vulnerable to changing currents, overfishing, or bad luck. The Viking world is resilient, but it is not invincible. As the weeks stretch on, the days barely lifting above twilight, the food changes. Stews grow thinner, meat appears less often, butter is used sparingly, bread becomes harder, meals are quieter now. People chew slowly, not to savor, but to make it last. This is when the stories turn darker. Tales of winters past, of hunger years, of families abandoning farms, of people eating seed grain meant for spring, of old laws allowing the weakest to be exposed, of gods who test not just courage, but patience. Winter strips away the romance, and this is the turning point, the hard truth hidden beneath the image of the iron-willed Viking. For all their strength, their ingenuity, their fierce independence, the Vikings live constantly on the edge of scarcity. Their famous raids, their relentless expansion, their hunger for silver and land, these are not just acts of ambition. They are responses to a fragile food system stretched thin by geography and climate. Winter is the silent driver of Viking history. Raids bring grain. Raids bring livestock. Raids bring slaves who work fields and preserve food. Expansion is not just glory, it is insurance against starvation. When the winter larders grow uncertain, the horizon becomes tempting. The world they built is powerful but brittle. One bad decade, cooler summers, failed harvests, shifting fish stocks, and the system begins to crack. Archaeology shows abandoned farms, thinner bones, signs of nutritional stress. The illusion of endless resilience fades. What they eat in winter reveals the cost of survival at the edge of the world. In the end, winter always wins, not by killing everyone, but by shaping everything. It decides where people live, who holds power, who leaves, who dies quietly in the dark, while the stew pot simmers above a shrinking fire. And when spring finally comes, when ice breaks, when the first green shoots appear, when fresh food returns, it feels like resurrection. But it is not victory, it is relief, temporary, borrowed. The Vikings knew this, even if they never said it aloud. Their winter food is not heroic. It is humble, sour, repetitive, heavy. It keeps them alive, but it also keeps them hungry, hungry enough to sail, to fight, to risk everything when the world opens again. And maybe that is the deeper lesson hidden in the smoke-filled longhouse. That power often grows from scarcity, that endurance is born from restraint, that civilizations do not collapse only from invasion or disaster, but from the quiet arithmetic of food and time. In winter, the Vikings learned who they really were. Not conquerors, not legends, but humans, counting days, sharing bowls, trusting that the past they preserved would be enough to carry them into a future they could not see. And long after the fire dies down, after the last bite is swallowed, after the stories fade into sleep, winter remains outside, patient, watching, waiting for the next truth to reveal itself.